Welcome, everyone, to Alchemy Within from Out Amongst the Stars. Thank you all for being here today with me. And I just wanted to do a emotional check-in because we have things moving. February 2024 has definitely felt like it's now the start of the new year, and there is so much energy happening around Pluto as it did ingress into Aquarius on January 20th. So we'll kind of go back to that moment in time and start there and see what's been coming up. And I just wanted to share with you that I am uh, here to for emotional empowerment support. If you need, I use the tools of astrology, the archetypes and elements, and have a certification in the emotional empowerment coaching. So if anyone is needing some support right now, please reach out. I am also looking at doing something kind of interesting with groups, like people to look at their actual charts. So being that we're in the 2024 year, in the 8 year, I'm looking for a group of 8. If I had more than that, we would split it into um, what your chart elements sort of look like, or rising signs. So we had maybe more air fire together, more water earth. But initially, yeah, just a once a month check in. It would be really affordable, like a $8 US for the Power of Eight group. Uh, and of course, if you follow the work of the Power of Eight and the intention setting, there's just a lot of energy and positive outcomes when you work together in a group. And this would just help everybody understand each other's archetypes better in their own charts, and then see how it works in other words through, like another one, through real life charts, which is how we really want to connect with the astrology. We can all talk about it in theory, but I love really connecting with how people's stories are unfolding compared to their chart. So if you're interested in that, please email me. I have my email below, and you can connect to me also if you want to put in your birth data here on the Bitly link. And also, if you wanted to just be part of the free private community, and or just book your own private reading, you can connect with me through there too. So we will carry on to the chart, and I will share with you what's kind of been going on as we move along here. So we had Pluto ingress into Aquarius. And I did this chart here for the February 5th. And then we won't be talking too much about it, but on the outside is the transits for the new moon in Aquarius that we have coming up. We are just headed into such really, really strong Aquarian energy. And we've had a lot of activations of what it is that we needed to dig into here over this last little bit. So I just wanted to do a check-in before we go into the new moon and things really start to ramp up. And so we will look at all of that. So as we move along here, I will first of all talk a little bit about Pluto. And Pluto, um, my good friend Ren Butler actually has a book called The Archetypal Universe, and it actually just had a real milestone. So he is an exceptional archetypal astrologer, and a lot of people use his book for guidance, and as their basically as their go-to book just for real general knowledge about all the archetypes in great depth. It's exceptional. So when we are talking about Pluto, it's essentially that regeneration and renewal energy, and the places where we kind of let things crumble down into a pile of rubble sometimes, and then or in order to rebuild it, it's something that needs to fall away so that we can evolve as a human and kind of go down underneath and dig into all of our different parts of our own unconscious or own psyche, and then allow ourselves to be born again like the phoenix rising from the ashes. So this is really significant because we had Pluto um, re-enter Aquarius. It had dipped in, so you can look back what happened sort of in the spring of 2023 between March and June of 2023, and then it went back into Capricorn, where it has been since 2008. So there's been a lot of things in that Capricorn energy, which is all about our systems and structures and institutes and governments, everything to do around our um, you know food chain supply to the um, education system to the way we just operate out in the world. And there's a lot of things that are getting shifted and changed that just aren't working in the way we do life right now. So we're just moving forward into a new Aquarian energy, which is less about the Capricornian hierarchical, patriarchal kind of mentality of power over, and more about a collective what's best for humanity, best as our individual and unique selves to be expressed, and for the collective in general to all work together. So when Pluto re-entered on January 20th, it will be here almost essentially for the next 20 years. It just has a little retrograde back into Capricorn between September 1st and November 19th of 2024. So for the most part, we are all now into this new Aquarian energy. And on the 5th of February was the first aspect to Pluto. So if we, leading up to there, go back to, our new moon that occurred on, our full moon that occurred on January 25th in Leo. That was us looking at, our Leo heart center, like what it is in our hearts that we are really being called to do. It's also ruled by the sun. It's like, where do you want your sun to shine? Where do you want your light to shine out in the world, taking leadership? And this is about also and involved the digging into all the parts of us that just aren't working. There's a lot of aspects that have been connected to that. And as we approach the Chiron North Node coming together in Aries, so as you see here, the Chiron North Node are getting closer. And so that's kind of at play as well. And that they will become conjunct on February 19th. And we'll talk more about that in later videos. But right now, I just want to talk about what's been leading up to this very first aspect, which was when Mercury came into Aquarius and hit Pluto here on February 5th. The sun had ingressed into Aquarius first, but it came in conjunction with Pluto at the 29th degree and the 29 minutes of Capricorn. So they will connect in Aquarius when we're back into that Aquarius sun energy in a year. So now, if we look at what's been happening though since, we need to look at where it is that we're being asked to grow and evolve. Pluto is it's about power. It can be about power over or your empowerment, and it's a very intense energy. It's death and rebirth, and it allows us to go in to find those real truths that we are struggling with internally, or that really needs to get brought up from the surface. So as you can see, as we had Pluto leaving Aquarius and going into or leaving Capricorn going into Aquarius, it was very, very strong, and we are seeing a lot of things in our societal, um, environments and out in the globe being really dug up from the from the earth. There's a lot of things that are giving us an indication of what's just not going to be sustainable going into this very you know new futuristic type innovative revolutionary energy of Aquarius. And on top of it is that we're going to, when we have this new moon on January 9th, it's going to be in trine with Uranus. And we just had Uranus station direct. And so that was all the traditional planets, all then all direct, all at the same time. There's nothing retrograde at this point in our main planets that we use. And, there's maybe, other things that may be involved, and anything to do with asteroids or fixed stars isn't involved here. But we're just talking about our main planets here, and um, all in forward motion as of January 27th. And Uranus has been sitting on this 19 degrees. So that's a really important degree because that's where this, new moon will be. And it's been kind of stationed there for quite some time. So it could be really shaking up anything around that degree that's in your chart, or that is, in square to it, especially, or conjunct. And I know for me, um, it's a very, very strong uh, fourth house on my Saturn. So there's definitely some stories to tell around that. And yeah, I'm just interested to see how it has been affecting your life, and how the Pluto ingress has been um, affecting your lives, and to see what's happening, and what the, different energies are that are, you know, coming to light for you with these big shifts. They're very big shifts. So, as we talk a little bit more about Aquarius, of course, if you're a sun sign in Aquarius, you were born between January 20th and February 18th. And it is a fixed air sign. And it definitely has a very cool glyph that is indicative of what it is. It's looks like electricity. And it rules actually the electrical impulses in the body, the circulatory system, and ankles and shins as well. And often, people who carry a really strong Aquarius energy or have their sun sign there, it's very much someone who can be very futuristic, loves their freedom. They like to be outside the box, unusual, sometimes rebellious. They like to share some, truths that other people wouldn't say, or can be very revolutionary, very innovative, very friendly too, or can be aloof, and but like emotionally can come across as being a little bit more detached. And so they like to kind of beat to their own drum, and very individualistic, but always very, very much a humanitarian, or group oriented, and whatever connections that they make, they always want to do what's best for the group. And yeah, it can really bring in some, like what's better for the people type of energy. So we could really see a lot of people gathering together, doing their own thing, but kind of in more grassroots up, and building communities around each other, and what they can bring together for the best of the entire group or the collective. um, they often can be very humorous and very intelligent. And the Aquarius kind of has that I know, because they often get real downloads. So when you're talking about like the Capricorn climbing the mountain energy, step by step, getting to the mountain, the Aquarius energy takes it to the whole other level beyond that, to the higher mind. And that's where often a lot of information for them comes through. It's an air sign, the mountain goat climbing the mountain in the Capricorn is a whole bunch different than getting the electrical kind of downloads that might come from somewhere out in the collective universal energies, right? It's one that can often, for that reason, really put on the observer, but they like a lot of new exciting kind of things typically. They can definitely find themselves getting bored if there isn't just too much, or more stimulation happening. And so when we were, going through kind of as this ingress was coming, the Pluto ingress was coming in, um, we had a I guess a conjunction first with Mercury here. So that hasn't happened for a very long time, since the 1700s, as a matter of fact. And what happened during that time in the 1700s was the French Revolution and the American Revolution. And if we go back even just to look at, what is this whole year, like the theme around this whole year of 2024, it's an 8 year. And the number 8 signifies things that are evolved around power as well, our personal power and its highest potential and what we can accomplish, and expressing it, and mastery of our own gifts and talents and abilities, and like taking charge of ourselves, who can be really good for advancements in your own career and financial prosperity and abundance. And we may see people abusing the power too, because it has that energy behind it, but it's about using that power in the best way possible. And that was a really different energy than like a 7 year, which was 2023, which involved more inner wisdom, inner work, and our spirituality, and kind of connecting us to self-reflect and gain an understanding of our by taking a deep dive inside ourselves, and to get that inner guidance and inner knowing to find our deeper truths for what was to come, the attainment of this rebirth and regeneration process. And I actually seen a really cool meme from Our Mindful Life that used the acronym of February of finding easy belief, radiate, underestimate, authenticity, resilience, your. So those were that's the using the acronym of February. And it's finding your voice is never easy. It requires courage and belief in yourself. Radiate confidence. Never underestimate the power of authenticity, for it brings resilience and strength to your words, your actions, and the journey. So that was very much the theme around what it is that we're going into with this particular year. And so when we look back at what happened way back in our 1777 to 1798, when we had that Pluto in Aquarius, it was like it takes Pluto like 248 years to go around. So that was 226 years ago, when Pluto had just left Aquarius, very long time ago. So thinking about how new this is, as we had the ingress of Mercury into Pluto, and it being the very first aspect, which happened on in mountain time, late in the evening, February 4th, at 10:10 p.m. So in Eastern, that will be on February 5th, way early in the morning. And you may have then felt like a real shift. I also was listening to a numerologist, Sue Frederick, her name was, and she was talking about, being that this is an 8 year, when you add the month of January, which is a 1 year, that was 9. So that's ending. So really the beginning of the one which would be our 8 year plus February, which is our second month, 2 year. 8 and 2 is 10. That puts us to a 1. That's the beginning of our year this year. So I think, like, people were, knowing as we were coming out of shadows of retrograde and knowing that the Uranus was moving direct, that they were still feeling a little bit like, being back in, held back a little bit from the real, moving forward, knowing and feeling like something was coming, but we hadn't quite got there. And as we were shifting into the very beginning of February, we hit that with a Scorpio moon in late afternoon on February 1st. So that was, that was some real, it represents the body, it represents the people in the mundane, but it's a very deep water emotional energy. So that's why we just been maybe feeling like there's just been a lot of things kind of stirring under the surface, and it may have felt even more intense. And even though the moon like moves quickly and it squared Pluto only briefly during those couple of days, it still could have felt very emotional. And again, bringing up, where are those parts of you that they're not working for you anymore. And it doesn't mean that you're wrong or bad or broken. It's just that sometimes we have created these conditions from our patterns and beliefs and stories, and all of the emotional wounds that we've had that are running the show in some sort of guilt, shame, um, pride loop, or a victim story, or some real fears or anxieties or anger. And I mean, the world's a little wild right now with all this shift in energy. And actually, in my group, I posted a really great video, um, for people to understand from very intuitive um, perspective about what's kind of been going on. And then, there's also a lot of solar flares, which are light codes and really energizing everything too, to shift and change our frequency. So we are we are in a shift. I think everyone is feeling it. Everyone knows that we are experiencing a whole different, um, uh, I guess, ideology. And where there was power or money or greed or power over, or these, angers and rage and hateful, divided, polarized places, um, or there, you may have experienced judgments, or this whole need to be, I'm right and you're wrong. um, there's been a lot of that, and I'm not saying that it's going away overnight, but I think there's going to be a lot of people who are just getting um, tired of being in that energy. And we have to remember, I mean, we have a lot of war going on in the world, and where we have these really um, very harsh energies, and we're feeling confused or scattered, that those emotions, those manifest as disease from the emotions that we are carrying. They create a real emotional charge, and we want to keep that energy in motion, but use it constructively and not destructively. And so knowing where your elemental chart needs to be activated so that you can like process and start to work through some of these various energies, and notice that where the letting go of certain aspects of yourself does need to take place, as well as the reliance and the belief of how the corporations and the big systems in our social, political, and financial and economic structures um, are, aren't as supporting as you felt they might once were, like maybe once were, and it's becoming a lot more decentralized in the model. And there's talk of just more leadership from, and also people um, really standing up for what they feel is right. And so that's why I say there might not be things going away in a hurry. However, we all need to work together collectively to change that energy, and it really does start with how we feel internally. And we're all getting a major upgrade here, and we all want to look at where it is that we can contribute in order for everything to really create a whole new environment that we want to be in for the next 20 years. I mean, as Pluto is, in Aquarius for 20 years. And, yes, these personal planets are coming in to activate it. Uh, this is setting a trajectory for a whole different type of life that we've been in. And we actually may actually really start to feel the difference with that Uranus moving direct of what's been going on since our Jupiter Saturn great conjunction on December 21st, 2020. There was a seed planted of like something around the structures and your expansion and growth in your reality and kind of how you want that to come about. And we went through a Mars Capricorn, Mars in Capricorn, which is, Mars is still in Capricorn. And was semi-squaring Saturn in Pisces. So it's a little bit of a challenging energy because Saturn is, no, stop, hold back. It's cold. It's the one who sets the boundaries between reality, what we see and what we don't see. And so there's limits, and, it's the foot on the brake and slow down and take more time, do things cautiously. And Mars is, I want to go. It's the start button. It's the impulsive initiator. And everything in the way of that, cut, sever, gas pedal, accelerator, go, right? So we were experiencing, the semi-square, which was going to cause a little bit of a annoyance as we're moving forward, but guaranteed that with this Jupiter and Saturn. So Saturn's here, and Jupiter is in Taurus, and they're very, very close, and they had an exact sextile on the 19th of June, and they're an easier flow energy, and they're going to definitely help us with this, because it's very expansive, but it can be expansive on how we want to change those structures and upgrade them, and allow things to come through. So we're having this a lot of this earthy energy that we've had in Capricorn and Taurus energy, which has been in, it's in a trine, so it's been in a flowing trine. But they're both very, earth signs, very practical, grounded. They're about planning and building and developing. And with the last quarter Scorpio moon, it kind of shifts things into that new cycle. And so this is like asking us what we want to embody for our soul as we look at the Aquarius energy that's really getting lit up, because now everything's going to shift, and it's going to shift into that Aquarius energy. And as we get closer and closer to Jupiter and Uranus coming together, and we actually on February 2nd had a nice sextile too between Mercury and Neptune. So now Mercury was at that point at 25 degrees and 49 minutes, still in Capricorn. So it was still kind of, Mercury was still in that very earthy, planning, and the Pisces energy with Saturn there brings in a real nice, structure to what it is that we're imagining for our life. And, although it's that communication part that could have been things that brought up some sort of confusing, maybe something that wasn't true, or, maybe you were hearing something also that makes you just feel like there was a little bit of uncertainty. So, we had then our moon, go through Sag, which is of course the big truth seeker, and it's that big energy, which is way less heavy than when we were in that Scorpio moon. And of course, the moon goes through for 2.5 days, so it's very quick. So we're at the Sag, and then we go into the moon in Capricorn after that. And then it'll by February 9th be in that Aquarius to bring in that new moon. And that'll be, then we'll have, so at that point, the Pluto, the Mercury, the moon, and the sun, that's 4 planets in Aquarius, right? So, speaking of how that energy played out before, but the first aspect in these, since like the 1700s of for Pluto in Aquarius was this Mercury hitting it. And Mercury is our mind, right? It's our thought processes, our learning style, how we retain information. It's the mental faculties and how we receive ideas and inspirations. It can do with our early childhood education, and it's the communication style as well, and how people deliver their information to you. Some are more speakers, some are not so much, right? And so it's our speech, our writing, the words we use. Our voice can even be the singing voice, and how you share with people on a daily basis. It also rules our fine motor skills, so it has a lot to do with hands. So we find people with lots of Gemini energy who are very good with tools and working with their hands, and also has a lot to do with our siblings too, and can represent children. But the Mercury was hitting that Pluto, and it's actually considered the higher or the lower octave, and Uranus is considered the higher octave of our thinking. And when Mercury goes into Aquarius, though, it kind of takes on that same kind of inspiring, enlightening, and sometimes even rebellious in the words of coming through, like I know my, I know the truth. Like you might hear Aquarius saying, I know. And they, try to tell them, things, or they kind of have to go and find their own way to their own knowledge, rather than, having it shared by someone else. Um, and their energy can be or that archetype can be very erratic at times too, and so seem a little a little bit weird, a little bit chaotic, but also very intelligent and very genius like and very future minded, and that again in that humanitarian. So it's just way more outside the box. So and it's actually ruled by Saturn in traditional astrology. So is Capricorn, but two very different energies. And the Saturn, well, in the Saturn rulership in Capricorn is more about, that, real rule following kind of authoritarian type energy, right? It's, and then when we look at how it is and how it plays out in the Aquarius energy, it's less about the realities of our human ways, but more kind of can be dogmatic and kind of put its heels in and sort of take on that other sort of wisdom. Now, in modern astrology, the Uranus is said to rule Aquarius. And, there's some truth definitely to how it connects, because, Uranus is the electricity light bulb moment type information that comes in. It's fast, it's like flashes of insight and wisdom. And so it's like that jolt of electricity that comes through. So there's definitely, something that plays out there. And so when we're, looking at, how this Mercury is affected in when it hits Pluto, it's known to be the one that can go to the underworld. So it has the ability to really dig into where our shadow parts are, our hidden truths. So there may have been some things that came out from the darkness, and people being really really blunt as they've been revealing what's kind of been going on underneath the surface if some things haven't been working out for them. So and when it and of course, like I was mentioning, it that Saturn ruled Aquarian part can be my way or the highway. The Capricorn version of it is the one who wants to conform to the societal norms, yet the Aquarian um, wants wants it to be like, it can be really fixed on its opinions and holding the belief, and sometimes gets ostracized because of that, and alienated, or can be misunderstood at times too. And um, it has this ability to, when it connects with Pluto though, to have a lot of things be brought to light. And that's where we're all at right now. There is like this coming together, this North Node in Chiron. So there is a lot of people really digging in with this, new energy consciousness coming in to where we feel these wounds that, were not serving us anymore. And on February 5th, like this same day, as you see, we have Venus here at 16 degrees and Chiron at 16 degrees. So we have that square happening as well. So that's why a lot of these energies around what's under the surface, and what we value in our self-worth, and anything to do around money and our true self, and where it is that our fears and insecurities and vulnerabilities and all these wounded parts that make us feel like guilting and shaming ourselves for, or stuck in this pride, or too much pride, that they don't want to change, or are coulda, shoulda, woulda, um, or ought to have been victim story is, been playing a part. But there's just an opportunity, as our North Node in Chiron. Our North Node wants us to be our, best, highest enlightened version of ourselves, the evolved self. And so this allows for a lot of healing, and especially with it being in Aries. Aries is the I am. Like, so fill in the blank. Like, I am, and who you are and your real truth, and what it is that you want to bring to the world in this collective energy as your individual self, as we move into all this Aquarian energy. That's really, coming through. And there's, the ability to always connect with your higher power, the universe, your God consciousness, divine source, whatever you want to name or call it or connect with. That is always there for you. And there's just, as the sun is lit up in Aquarius at 16 degrees, it's in sextile with Chiron. So we had the Venus, here, that squaring it, but then we have the sun in sextile. And that's a nice flowing energy. So that helped with the ability, as Pluto and Mercury came together, to look at that old story, or the old cognitive mind pattern that you got from your childhood conditioning, or whatever's blocking you, to really be accessed and have you know the chance for transformation, and the chance for it to, you have the awareness around it, it be illuminated with that sun. And as soon as something is illuminated and brought to the surface, that's when it is, has the ability to be healed. So that's why I really wanted to see if we could, gather together in a group. It would be a very affordable 1 month membership fee of $8 US, and really look at, what's happening in your Aquarius house. And we could go through that for everybody to be able to share the story, and sharing the stories always help us in that, ability to do the Pluto thing, which is the deconstruction for reconstruction and have a rebirth moment of where it is and what it is that we want to bring into our, collective new earth that we're um, all looking to improve on. I think anybody who anybody who wants to really make a difference in the world and isn't too focused on having power over, I feel that's exactly what they're looking for. And we also had way back Pluto in Capricorn, when it was still way back here. It squared Mars in Libra, and we're going to have a Pluto Mars conjunction here soon when Mars Ingress is here um, in mid February or so. And we can go back to October 8th to see what it was that maybe came up then that can be brought to light now. Because that can be a challenging energy, and the Mars Pluto is also can be challenging. So when Mars comes through here on the 13th, I believe it is, that could bring definitely some things up, right? So we'll look at that a little bit later, and we'll also then have Venus coming through. So that'll be after the new moon, though, that these two come through. So we'll get to the new moon first, and that'll be in a different video. But we just have to look at um, when the new moon hits. We have these 4 planets all in Aquarius, and the moon will have moved on after the week after into Pisces and Aries and such. However, we'll have Mars come in, and then very shortly after Venus. So we have 4, 5 planets all together in Aquarius throughout February until the sun moves into Pisces. And that's a lot of Aquarian energy. And if you're not familiar of, where this is in your chart and how that's showing up for you, that's what I'd like to help you look for and look at and see how this is all affecting you and what house it's in. And I know for me, it's huge because it's my first house. It's me, all about me and my body and my how I present myself out in the world. It's the role I'm playing. I'm a Gemini sun, so what I do is in communication, but how is the Aquarian, and that is going to look very, very different than how I had operated in my previous life. I know I'm in for a huge transformation, and that's okay. I've been preparing for it, but yeah, let's look at where your Aquarian house is, and we can gather together. So please feel free to reach out to me, and we can definitely look at where it is that um, we can have a chat about your chart and work through some of your things. I know for my Gen Z daughter, she definitely is all about talking things out. She has to talk everything out, and that's part of her. That's part of her. That's in her chart too. She's got the Jupiter and her Mercury are together, so there's big talking. I'll hopefully have her on the channel here too, because she's got a really interesting aspect, or 2 or 3 that I think would be very beneficial for people. So yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, there's all kinds of interventions and processes that I have learned throughout my schooling and education, which I've been working on the empowerment stuff for many years, and got certified and did all the practicums and everything else during COVID. But the astrology, I really want to bring that in more to my work. So I'd love to connect with people and maybe gather a group together once a month, and we can essentially learn together. If I get more than 8, it would be too much in a room, I think, so we would then split it up. But you can connect also, like I said, with my free private member group, and that's through this bit.ly link, or you can just email me if you're looking for some sort of answers. And I would really love if you comment, like, and subscribe to the channel, and we'll help it grow, because I'm just really wanting to be of support to people and trying to get the word out there that um, I can do that. And if you're, just really looking for immediate help, there's a couple of exercises that are really great that I had learned about, and I wrote them out. And so feel free to email me if you're not familiar with, how to do either the cord cutting exercise or some mirror work, because that keeps coming up for sure, is how to connect with your divine source, your inner higher knowing and guidance, as well as going to the mirror and cultivating that self love, because everything does start with whatever we bring from within out. So any way we can work on our own inner story, that, and we all got one, we're human, and it's all part of our evolution. And knowing that we have a soul contract coming down here with what we're going to learn, what we're going to teach, how we're going to go about doing that. And a lot of it really does get shown in the astrology chart. So any kind of guidance, um, if you're feeling confused, that I can help support with, I would absolutely love to do that. So thank you for being here. And until we meet again, I will talk to you soon. Bye for now, everyone.